What's up, everyone? I'm Ken, and we are the Shop Mini RC. We're going to do another Bronco video for free and super cheap upgrades and mods. And we decided we're going to take our body and we're going to chop it off. We spent all that time in the last video taking the window out, the front window. So if you want, you can just skip this body chopping part, but we'll have some more stuff in the video also. So don't leave the video, but we'll use the links below. We've got index links, chapters. They're called chapters. We'll do the chapter links below, and you can just click over to the next mod if you'd like. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and chop this out. We're going to use, this is a number 10 X-Acto blade and probably one of the normal X-Acto blades just to get some of the finer spots. And basically we're just going to score it. You can see I already kind of did a line right here. And we're going to score it right along the paint line, essentially, okay? And we're probably going to try to cut down through here. I don't know if you can see. But we're going to try to cut down through here, and we'll just cut the pillars here. And we're going to try to keep the top all in one piece. We'll have to cut the front, obviously. And so we're going to chop all that, and we're going to try to make it so that we can put our top back on. But if we're trailing and if we're going rock crawling, we'll pull the top off and get rid of that heavy extra weight. All right, so let me get cutting at this. I'm probably not going to show too much on the video because that's kind of boring. But just be careful while you're cutting, and just go over it and just score it and score it, and you just basically keep scoring it, and eventually you'll get through the plastic. You could kind of cut through the back here as you get more scored and be able to just slide your blade through to cut to here. And then be careful if you're going to cut here, don't break that part, and you can cut in this way from here. So coming in like that, right? Cut in there, then you have to use one of the other X-Actos to score this here, and then you can bring this in all the way through there. But again, you want to do a bunch of scoring. The more you score, the less likely you're going to basically leave that slot and end up cutting into your body or cutting into your roof top. All right, well, let's get it done. All right, so you can see we've got our, at least the back portion of the cover, cab, whatever, cut. We're cut here along the back. You can see we kept the roof line here. It doesn't look good now, but once we'll sand it up a little, clean it up, and then we'll paint it black or Sharpie it. Probably Sharpie it, actually. This is kind of a matte color. We don't want to put thick paint on there. So we're going to have to cut this front here now, and then we're going to have to get the front windshield back in and the rest of the windows back into the topper. One thing that we have going on here is our limb risers go into this roof rack, which will no longer be here. So I'm not sure how we're going to handle this yet. Maybe we will build a cage that this roof rack can go back onto, so we can just lift this off and put it back onto some sort of like a deadbolt cage. Maybe, I'm not sure yet. Maybe we'll just cut our roof rack actually and glue these mount points, or make new mount points and put them on the front windshield. That way they're always on the windshield, and we can remove this. I think cutting this roof rack might be the best way to do it. We'll just have to make it look good. We don't want it to be too... Sucks we'd have to cut that, but maybe. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But we're going to go ahead and remove this roof rack now so that we can get to the front windshield here. All right, so we're working this front, and we're using a number 10. Ideally, when you're doing these lines, you're going to want to use a number 10 for as long as possible. I would plan on at least an hour just to cut this, okay? Because you want to cut it slow. The slower, the better. The more you score the line, the less likely you're going to do this. We got a scratch. So super, super unfortunate. And it's because we got impatient. We were scoring it a whole bunch. We were using this, and then we're like, okay, let's go ahead and go to our traditional X-Acto and start scoring it again, and try to push a little harder. And when you push a little harder and even moving slow, we just kind of, and I got a little bump, and that was it. That was game over. So again, go as long as you can with the 10. Slowly cut, and you're literally just kind of just cutting a groove, right? Like, don't push super hard, be steady. Remember, X-Actos are very, very sharp, and you're kind of just digging a groove out, right? You're digging a groove out. I mean, you just want to be slow and purposeful. And the deeper you go, the harder you can push, the less precise you need to be, but you still got to make sure that you stay within your groove, because you can easily slide out. Now, once you start getting into the side and stuff, I use a rocking method. I'll basically put my finger on the X-Acto, and I'll kind of rock it, okay, to get my cut in, and that way I can cut into where I'm going. You kind of push and you rock it in, and I'm rocking it off my finger, right? So that'll kind of help you push through. And I've done that on both sides. And then once you're up to where you want to cut, again, you can kind of do the same thing, where you can go into your slot, and you kind of just slowly rock it. And you just kind of rock it, and it'll cut and rock and cut and rock. Okay? Just be careful not to slip. And just keep on scoring. Keep on scoring. Just slowly cut away. Slowly cut away. This looks really rough right now, and especially with our scratch. But excluding our scratch, once this is cut, you can clean it up very, very easily. So maybe we'll end up making this top part black on here. I don't know. That might look kind of funky. We'll see. I mean, you have no idea how sad that makes me. This is why I did not want to do this. But again, it's just some paint. We've got worse scratches just from running the rig, right? Just like going, one wreck could have added that scratch. So it's whatever. But the slower and more methodical and just lightly cutting it away, you can see the material kind of coming out, the better. This is a pretty hard part to do. It's pretty thick. So in hindsight, I think you probably want to do the front first. Do the front first. That way you're not getting tired and getting sloppy like I did. Also, it's one of the thicker parts. So as you're sitting here pushing on it, you're kind of got all this slop back here. It'd probably be a lot easier if I didn't cut any of this yet and I did this first, then do the back. So that's a mistake. I did the back first, then the front, but you are here to learn and I'm here to show you my mistakes so you do not have to do them. Cut the front first, then do the back. Okay? You also have less likely of a chance of breaking one of these A-pillars because you're pushing on it or something. So I didn't fully think that through, and that is my mistake. You do not have to make it. We're going to keep going. We'll come back when we get this off. All right, so like I said, we kind of stuck our X-Acto in there and rocked it on our finger, kind of back across. Again, you can keep scoring it. The longer you score, the better, but we got it off. All right, now we're just going to clean all this up and reborder it. And we've got our interior here. Give you a preview, all right. And then our roof rack. So we might try to see if we can figure out a way to put a cage in here, maybe. I'm not sure yet. We'll figure it out. But we kind of want to keep the roof rack. Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't keep the roof rack. Like I said, and we just kind of mount these to the front. We can drill little holes and put a screw in. That wouldn't be the worst. Yeah, anyway, all right, let's clean this up. We're just going to use some fine sandpaper. This is 600 grit ultra fine. We could probably go a little harsher, but this is what we have right now. Might take a little longer to get it kind of nice, but at least it'll be nice and smooth. And we're just going to go ahead and basically clean up everywhere we cut. All right, guys, so we went ahead and sanded it all down. It's much cleaner, much more clean looking. Okay, our stupid scratch here. Ugh. And then our roof, we got our glass as well still. Our roof is all cleaned up, and we still need to color it, so you can see there's some issues there, but it's clean looking. We put our roof back in, you can see that. All right. And this guy can just slap right on there, right? So we got to be able to replace our roof, put our roof back on. That's nice. Now we just need to cut this windshield. And I think we're going to try to we're going to cut it maybe 2/3 of the way from this line to this line, right? So basically between here and here, we're probably going to just try to cut it right along here. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think we want to. I think we want to leave a little lip so that when we put the roof back on, it's tucking underneath here. We want it to tuck in there. So let's see. We may end up having to glue the front windshield, but I think, let's take this off. So once we're screwed into the front here, we have 2 screws that come into here. Our windows, about like that. I think that's about where everything sits. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll probably maybe just halfway cut it directly in the middle on this piece here. That way you've got enough to kind of make sure it's not popping out the front, right? You don't want the window popping out the front. And then a little bit of a lip to tuck under when we do install the roof. Cool. All right, let's get at it. And for the window, you're going to want to do the same thing. You're basically just going to want to score it a whole lot. Score it along where you want it to cut. And I ended up doing it from the inside here. I did a couple of scores here on the outside to get my first line, just so I knew where I wanted it. And then I started scoring on the inside. That way I can get some extra pressure on it without worrying about cutting myself. Remember, again, don't cut yourself. It's not worth a trip to the ER because you slice a fingertip off or stab yourself in the arm or hand or something. All right. Once you get a lot of scoring, you can start to feel, if it starts to feel weak, you can just start actually just kind of bending it back and forth. Just kind of, it'll weaken it. And if you just keep doing it, eventually it will just cleanly break off. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and clean this up. Clean this up and get them put back into the truck. All right, kiddos, we got it all cleaned up. We got it bordered in black. Took our black in a little deeper so that when we have the dude in there, it'll look a little better. We'll see, we haven't put it together yet. So got our front windshield with a little bit of a lip on it. We cleaned it a little bit. It's in there nicely. There's our interior. Looks pretty good. Like I said, maybe we'll try to find a way to put this roof rack on. Maybe we'll use a deadbolt cage. I'm not sure yet. I don't think we're going to even have to glue the window. I think the window will be fine with just the screws that are in here. And then our top still have this. Clean that up a little bit, but can snap it back in. We've got our top. It's still got the tab on the back here and a little bit of a lip here on the front. So that should hopefully be enough to hold it all together. If we slide this in, clip in where the windows would go, pop the back on, and I think we're golden. It's hard to tell when I don't have any screws in there, but there we go. And we may have to kind of rig up some sort of maybe a magnet to help hold that in there. If you don't take out the front windows will help snap and hold it all in. I'm just not sure what's holding us up here, but we'll get there. Again, it's just about tinkering with it. All right. And maybe if we end up doing like a roll cage or something on the inside, we can put some sort of mount that'll allow us to put the screws through and hold it on along with our roof rack here. We'll get some longer screws, and that'll keep it all together. Have screws come through here, well, through the mount, the cage, yeah, and then into the roof and into the roof rack. Cool. All right, let's move on. All right, so one more thing we wanted to show was the weight of just the roof and the glass. So removing the roof and the glass, and that's not even counting the roof rack, so if you remove the roof rack, there'd be even more, but just the roof and the glass alone is 28.4. Okay, so that's pretty significant. Removing almost 30 grams just in this. And again, the roof rack with all the accessories, my guess that's probably another 15 grams. Yeah, so that's pretty significant. Now, when we put the cage back in, obviously it's going to end up adding some weight back on, but we'll see how we get. All right, guys, we got this all done up. We've got a 50mm light bar from Hobby Details that we got installed. We actually made some custom mounts here. These are actually the ends of a mini B or mini T A-arm. Here, hold on, I'll show you. So we actually had a broken mini B or mini T A-arm. Oh, I was like, these are perfect for mounts. So we just chopped them off and we made our mounts. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Got our limb risers relocated to the mounts, and then of course we have our top, which we chopped. This is a deadbolt cage. We might modify this. I saw somebody had chopped out basically all of this, and all of this. They basically only had the 3 bars, the front, middle, and back bar, and then the 2 side bars. It looked pretty slick, but I don't know. I kind of like that it's a little more caged. We might cut the handles off or take off this, I like to call this a turtle shell, take off the turtle shell, but maybe not, I don't know. I like the more square look, so that's cool. We got our wires for our light running down through here. They're pretty well hidden. And we're keeping our spare. Again, if you want to remove your spare, it'll definitely save you some high center of gravity. I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and decase this ESC. I've got a video on decasing ESCs right up over here. We haven't decased to version 2 yet, but I'm sure it's exactly the same. So we're going to go ahead and decase it. That way we can remove some weight, lower our center of gravity, get rid of this adapter, because we'll just hardwire in the JST plug, because we use JST plugs on everything. And yeah, maybe we'll be able to relocate our battery then. All right, so I'm going to go do that, and I'll be back. So the stock version 2 receiver is 11.16 grams. I know, I picked it up. It's 11.16. Oh, now it's 11.15. Now it's 11.13. It's 11.15 grams. Just taking this out of the case alone brings us down to 6.35. So you save like 5 grams almost just by removing the case. All right, so we got it all rewired and decased. We went ahead and put a motor plug and battery plug, and then decided to leave our on and off switch. We usually remove these on the version 1s, but with where this is going on here, it doesn't matter if I've got the switch or not. And it might save a gram or two, but it's not that big of a deal. And even with this plug and the extra wire, so 7.38 versus the 11.5-ish before. So that's basically saving us 4 grams, but really what it's about is getting us a little bit lower center of gravity, right? It's 4 grams off the top to a degree, and lowering this. It also is going to give us room inside that will allow us to put our battery on top of here if we want. We can make a little tray, or even just have a Velcro on the front of the battery and set it on top and get rid of this back here. That loses some weight there too. So it just gives us more options for mounting. Something interesting I noticed. Look at that right there. Fly Sky. So apparently version 2s are made by Fly Sky. Fascinating. And then we're going to go ahead and conformal coat this thing. Again, it's less about the waterproofing and more about protecting the electronics from shorting out and whatnot. Remember, make sure your switch is on, just in case your conformal coating happens to stick your switch or make it so it's stuck on. You don't want to be stuck on off, at least it's on. And usually, like I said, when we remove these switches, we usually just solder them on anyway, because you should always remove your batteries when you're not running your truck. You shouldn't leave them in there no matter what. So having it on all the time doesn't really matter. I usually naturally have all my vehicles and ESCs on, just so I don't have to fiddle with it, plug in the battery and go.
A few moments later.
We've got our ESC put back in. We actually just used a little bit of hot glue. Anybody who watches my videos knows I love hot glue. So we hot glued it in there. It's super low profile. Everything's hooked back up. What's going on here? Looks like we have a short in one of our lights right here. Oh, look at that. All right, we'll have to fix that. Either way, it's just a weak, or well, broken little solder joint. Oh, there we go. But yeah, so we're good. Our ESC switch did get stuck on after we put a lot of conformal coating on, so it's kind of stuck on, but that's fine. Like I said, usually we remove the switch. So we went ahead and removed our Velcro from here and up in here, and we're going to replace that with magnets. But what we're actually using the Velcro for is the back of our battery. And then we've got the top portion of the Velcro, and we're going to fix that here. And then our battery will be more forward facing. You can see we already removed our battery strap. We'll probably try to remove this tray. Worst case, we might cut the tray or use some of the other parts. If this is all you have, you can cut this tray. We kind of want to keep this side mount tray just in case we ever need it again, but we do have a bunch of other tray parts. We just want to be able to mount our shocks here, which means we need the tray, or at least something to mount our screw into. So we'll probably put another tray in here, or just a piece of a tray to make it lightweight. We're not going to use the whole thing. And like I said, you can use this tray if this is all you have. We're trying to use as much stuff that we already have that comes with the kit. So we're going to go ahead and use this, and that'll Velcro our battery right here, essentially giving us this. So a lot more forward biased weight. And because this isn't the Velcro is not going to stick very well to this and the motor mount and stuff, we're going to take our case from our decased ESC, and we're just going to trim out the bottom here, and we'll probably end up hot gluing that there, and that'll at least give us a nice panel to attach our Velcro to, because the Velcro doesn't stick very well. We could hot glue this too, I don't know. I just kind of like the idea of having a flat tray there. It does add a little weight, especially weight we just removed, right? But that's okay. So we're going to trim this out and we'll see what we get. All right. So we've got our little panel there. If you didn't want to use your ESC box because you wanted to keep it for some reason or maybe use it for something else, you always try to take the plastic out of your box, right? It's a little more flimsy, not quite as stiff. Or even just use cardboard, right? Some of the cardboard from this or anything. It's just a matter of being resourceful and being creative. Like I said, we're mostly just trying to use what came with because we know you've got the same stuff we've got. And if your Velcro is not sticking very well because you've touched it too much or you pulled it off and removed it, kind of like we did, we were trying it on different places, you can always just super glue it on or hot glue it onto the panel. Again, the nice thing about hot glue is you can hot glue these boards and then peel it off if you want to change things later, whereas if you were to like use shoe glue or any sort of super glue, you're going to be stuck there and you could damage the board. But the hot glue peels right off fairly easily, so we like that. All right. And we put Velcro on all of our batteries as well. I think I have another one around here somewhere. There we go. And that's kind of, we mount them in our trucks using Velcro. It's easy. So this actually still had the double-sided tape that is no longer sticky. So we'll peel that off, save some weight. I know it's minimal, but if you can trim where you can and make things smaller and lighter, you're making a better performing rig. And it adds up. I know it seems minor, but the stuff does add up over time. Keep adding stuff to your rigs, they get heavy, and before you know it, you're at 600 grams or some crazy number. When, if you trim a little bit, you could save 50 or 60 grams here, and especially if it's high, then like high center of gravity stuff, then you really benefit by trying to save that weight. All right. You can see we even hot glued it a little bit to the transmission case, which when we work on things later might be a little bit of a pain, but again, it's not too bad. It just peels right off. If we were using shoe glue or any other type of super glue, it wouldn't come off easily at all. So that's the benefit of hot glue, at least in my opinion. All right, so there we have it. Batteries in there. Isn't that pretty good? I mean, it's not coming out. So that is good. And let's go ahead and do the magnets. One of the things about the magnets, I hate having this wire for our light bar here plugged in, and I got to unplug it. So what we can do is we can actually take two magnets and we can wire from the receiver to the magnets for power, and then wire our light bar right up in here, positive and negative, to the magnets. And then when the magnets touch, the lights will turn on. So we got these magnets off Amazon. We'll post a link in the description below. There's a whole bunch of different sizes. There's even these big ones that we use. Depending on how you're mounting your body and if it's just fronts or all four magnets, is going to kind of change the size of magnets you want to use. These are pretty cheap, so we'll link them. You don't have to do this, and if you wanted to just buy Velcro and do the Velcro portion and leave your Velcro here on the top, that might be cheaper than magnets, but we really like the magnets, especially if we're going to do our lights the way we want to do it. And eventually we'll probably remove the back mount and we'll do magnets in the back too. But for now we'll just do up front. And we're going to use these smaller ones because the back is already very stable and we don't want too much resistance on the front. So we'll just use smaller magnets, plus they're lighter, and that's good. You don't want to get too thick. If you get thicker magnets, then your body sits higher. It's harder to adjust for that. Although we got a lot of movement, we got a lot of space we can adjust in here, so we're not too worried. There's also where you can pull off this whole mounting plate, and there are screws you can get that'll go right into here. And then you just use two magnets, and the screws are adjustable. Actually, let me show you that. So these little screws fit perfect into the original mounting holes, and they can just screw in, and then you don't have to glue anything except this magnet on the body side. Okay, and you can still solder wire onto here and it'll still transfer the power. These little screws are actually kind of pricey, so I'm going to put them in the link anyway, but again, they're not required. You can just use the magnets alone, and this body mount, just hot glue them here, hot glue them to the body, but if you want, you can use these as well, and then you don't have to worry about your body mount here. Also, if you're trying to get lower, these might help you get a little lower, because you can drop them all the way down and you don't have the body mount plus the magnet. So we are going to use these, but you don't have to. After we went ahead and got our screws for our mounts put in here, we lowered it quite a bit, because ideally you want your body as low as possible. And in doing so, it was, well, to get these as low as possible, it was hitting the bumper that we flipped. Also, by putting our shock, we moved our shock from here down to here to give us more articulation. And it was making, with the body at this previous position and the bumper, which was like right here, it was basically sitting like this. So we had a lot more wheel gap in the front. Because the bumper was flipped. So we went in and flipped the bumper back. That's part of this hobby, is trying things out and moving things and undoing things you've done to make new mods fit. So you're always kind of going back and forth. But we went and flipped the bumper back, which means our approach angle is a little bit less, but we've got better articulation now, and we have a lower body. So when it sits, we sit like this, versus having the body up here like this. Now, if we wanted to, we could leave the bumper flipped, and we could leave the shocks in this position here, where we moved them when we flipped the bumper initially, and these would just be higher up, and that would work fine as well. You don't have to flip this back, and you don't have to move the shock, but we wanted to go ahead and move the shock back to get better articulation. We're probably going to do the same in the back. We'll probably move it to here, and then we might do some stuff with the springs. That'll be for another video, though. The last thing we're doing in this video is just getting these mounted up in here and our magnets working, and we'll probably do another video where we go ahead and hook the lights up to these and maybe do some more shock stuff. We'll probably move this shock here before the end of this video, but we're not going to adjust our springs or do any of that kind of stuff. All right, well, let's go ahead and glue these in. So the best way to do this is to test fit it and make sure you are where you want to be as far as height is concerned on these, or positioning, especially if you were using the plate here. You want to go ahead and glue your magnets to the plate first and have your there, and then put the second magnets on top. Make sure they're facing the correct direction. The magnets need to be not pushing against each other, so that's why you'll attach them here. So the last thing you want to do is glue them upside down here, and then when you're trying to put it together, it's just pushing and repelling. So go ahead and glue your magnets on here, put your second magnet on top, and have both magnets, or all four magnets, on your mount. And then go ahead and close your body and make sure you are checking that it's hitting the body where you want it to. Make sure you're straight here in the front, okay? And it's sitting how you want it to sit. And then all we're going to do is we're going to put some dabs of hot glue here and here, and we're going to close our body and make sure we're straight. You can put a fairly generous amount. You just don't want too much so that it doesn't end up pushing over and the hot glue is touching on your other mounts. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close it, make sure we're straight. You can feel it nicely pushing down. We'll go ahead and hold it until it cools. We'll let it sit for a second. You want to let it cool completely before you try to open it up. If you open it up while it's not cool, you could end up pulling the magnets out of the hot glue. You can kind of see them in there. Sorry, I don't have better lighting on that, but there you go. And then once the magnets are in there, you can surround them. And a trick to getting magnets off is you can kind of pull them off sideways a little and slide them. And ta-da! Our magnets are nice and mounted. Okay? And this is not coming off. These are good. You're not coming off, you're good. Pretty cool. If you did ever just pop off, you could put a little bit extra on there. We have a whole video on magnet mounting we'll put over here. There's some stuff to know when you're doing like a Lexan body. You can damage the paint if you're not careful, if your hot glue is too hot, and you can put tape across it so you have a wider surface area, and then put your magnets onto the tape, and that'll help keep your magnets from popping off of the Lexan body or just damaging the paint. Anyway, up here. So ultimately, we want our light bar going into the same as our fog lights, because we want them on the switch. We want our fog lights on the switch and light bar on the switch, and then we want to leave our headlights just on when the car's on. So we're going to end up splicing into the head here. But I kind of think for now, maybe we will just go ahead and solder these on to the magnets, and I'll show you that. So let's go ahead and do that. And then later we'll splice it into the head. These. For now, we'll just use this cable. We'll cut it, and we'll plug this into one of the permanent ons, and it'll just be on like the headlights, and eventually we can just move the cables from here to where they are onto here. Anyway. Now, if we wanted to, we could mount both our light bar and our headlights to these two magnets, right? And then we would just run on these two to whichever port we want, and we could run all of the lights off of just these two magnets and not have any of this extra wire that runs along the back. That way, if we wanted to remove the body, we could. The problem is it would be on the same circuit. So if we were to wire the headlights to the magnets and our light bar to the magnets, then we would not be able to independently control our light bar and our headlights. The lights would just always be on, or when we unplug it'd be off, or both headlights and light bar would be on the switch. And if you want that, that's fine. Just go ahead and basically solder here to here, and then on your light bar, well, you probably don't have a light bar because we added this and spent money. You don't have to do that. This is just aesthetics. But we like the way it looked. By the way, this is a Hobby Details light bar. I don't know if we mentioned it yet, but they are out of China. But the light bar is pretty low profile. It's pretty bright. It's meant for, I believe, one of the Jeeps, and we had to make mounts, but it's all good. So because we want to keep our headlights on always, and we are eventually going to want our light bar to turn on and off, we cannot wire them together. So we're only going to do the light bar here. If later on we decided we wanted to do magnet mounts in the back, you could then run your headlights to the back and have a separate circuit on there. So you could have two circuits, one that's always on and one that's your on and off switch or blink. And you could even do your signals and stuff, but then you need to have two mounting points or two magnets for every single circuit that you want to run. So you need 4 sets of 2. You need 8 magnets to do left, right, on, off, and permanent on, which is a lot, and you probably wouldn't do. So, yeah, that's just another task to figure out and tackle. Maybe end up running a wire from here to somewhere more accessible if this isn't accessible. By removing this mount, you are much more able to reach your servos. So it's a little bit easier if you had a wire going to do your signals and whatnot. You could just unplug it and you're good to go. You have to unplug both, but again, just getting creative. So let's go ahead and start soldering these here. I'm going to put my headlights back where they belong. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go black here and red here. Just that way we're following our pattern of black, red, black, red, black, red, which means this will be black and this will be red. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of eyeball our length. We really don't need a lot of extra, but just to make sure we can kind of move it around if need be, I'm going to cut it a little extra. And then our red. Okay, and then we will end up taking these, and this will get plugged in here, and we will go black, red. We'll just solder them straight to those. So let's go ahead and do our lights first. Now, whenever you're soldering, you want to tin and pre-solder the points where you're going to connect. And that just makes it so that when you're ready to connect, the solder will easily hold. And tinning just means taking a little bit of solder and getting it into the wire that you're going to use. Best practice for soldering is to heat the wire and put the solder on the wire, not put the solder on the soldering iron. So you want to heat the wire and then get your solder onto the wire that is heated. And this would be easier if we disassembled the whole thing, but it's fine. All right. Okay. And then as far as, we're going to go ahead and remove the body. This is just too difficult. And I want it to look good, so let's remove the body. And we're going to go ahead and get a little bit of solder on our magnets. We're going to put it towards the front. You don't want to put it where it's going to connect. You don't want to put it like in the middle, right? Because that's where it's got to connect to the body mount. So you put it towards the front or side, really anywhere, just not on this, the plate that's going to connect. Just be aware as you heat these magnets, they could technically, you could loosen your, they do get really warm, so you don't want to overheat them and you don't want it to melt your hot glue. Okay, so we can just go ahead and solder these on now. basically when you've got both sides and they both the wire and your other point, whether it's another wire or a board or a magnet, as long as they both got solder in it, all you have to really do is kind of touch it, and the solder should just fuse it right onto it. All right, pretty clean. Looks like it's on there well. And now we'll do the other side. Again, this is our red, this is our black. We'll shorten these up pretty significantly here. Not too much, just in case we want to use them for something else, but we also don't want a ton of wire. We'll go ahead and tint these. We'll do the same here. And we'll go ahead and connect them. Okay, we should be good there. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see if our connection works. Ta-da! Simple as that. Pretty awesome. All right, we're gonna get it all buttoned up and put back together. So we were going to use the Velcro from the body mount and the body to put on our battery, and then make a sort of tray out of the ESC and mount it here. That's why you'll see that in some of the other video. And then mount our battery like so. The problem is the body doesn't have enough clearance. You can see how much space it actually is because of the interior. If you removed your interior, you would be able to do that. But you'd have to remove your interior. And it's not even that much. You might even be able to just trim the interior, but then you have a hole in your battery showing through. But you can see it pushes through about that much. Another option might be to try to heat up this interior piece and warp it so it warps in, but you need quite a bit of space. So I don't know. I guess we'll just keep the we took all this off, and we're probably just going to keep our battery in the back. We're going to keep the Velcro on here because, like I said, we use Velcro on a lot of our batteries for our other rigs, so we'll leave our Velcro on here, and we'll just leave it in the stock mounting position for now, and just have this. Another option, if you're wanting to redistribute your weight, would be to mount your battery here and move your ESC to the back, and then run all your wires back here. The only issue there is your stock servo does not have enough length, so that kind of sucks. But if you have an aftermarket servo, you would have enough length to get to the back and run all your lights and everything to the back, and then put your battery in the forward mounted position, because you want the heavier thing forward. So, like I've said before, not everything goes as planned, and sometimes you just got to tinker and undo what you did, and it's always trial and error. Well, you made it this far, so why don't you put chopped down in the comments below. Chopped. Video looks pretty good. Oh, we added a light on the back as well. I honestly don't remember the brand. It might be Hobby Details. I don't remember. I've had it sitting for a while, but it's cool. I dig it. It's just wired into the same as our headlights, actually. Our magnets working. Yeah. The deadbolt cage. We didn't really talk much on the deadbolt cage. It is actually modified a little bit. We cut this and narrowed it in. That way we could fit the top back on, because without narrowing it, the top will not fit back on. So you can kind of see we heated it up a little bit, put a little heat to it, chop that, narrowed it in. Not much though. And like we said, unfortunately our battery positioning did not happen, just because when you move this forward, it ends up hitting on the seats of the underneath part. They do sit a little lower than the back portion. Now, like we mentioned, if we relocate our ESC to the back, we can put our battery to the front, and there is more room towards the front here. But that is not for today. We did see another pretty slick way to cut your top off that Matt from 2FM RC did, and he basically used a thread, so cotton thread, just like a sewing thread, and you can kind of saw it through. You just kind of hold the truck between your desk and your body and just kind of saw the thread through, and it'll cut through the body fairly easily from what it looked like. So maybe check out his video, but he did mention that he had to use an X-Acto on the glass. The plastic for the glass is much more dense, and so he used an X-Acto and put his soldering iron to it to heat it up. We just scored it. Felt like scoring it was easy enough, and I don't want to have to deal with the soldering iron and heating it up and potentially melting the glass. It just seemed to be easy enough to cut, especially when we already cut our front windows. So yeah, hope y'all liked and enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something. I know it was another long one. Be sure to check out all the other videos on the mods in the playlist, and that way you can see what we've done. We've done quite a bit, just on the free and cheap, just modifying things. And yeah, make sure you like and subscribe and share and click the notification bell. All those things that you do at the end of a video that you enjoyed, and hopefully we see you next time. Get out there and run your cars. Smash them, crash them, and bash them, but don't break the expensive parts.